Now I think we all agree that Super Mario Maker is one of the best things Nintendo has ever made. It really never gets old. You can play brand new levels each time, and every now and then we even get a new update, which introduces even more cool things. And so I can say till this very day that people still love Super Mario Maker 2 and play it a lot, even though it's almost 4 years old at this point. Now due to this I started thinking. When Nintendo released the sequel, they added a lot of new things. So what could they add in Super Mario Maker 3? Well, obviously new power-ups. And personally, I have a couple in mind that I would love to see, which we will be talking about today. So let's dive right in. Hey, psst! Be sure to check out wily.gg if you're in the market for any games, and use code WILY to get 5% off. Now let's continue with the video. Number 5. Now to start off this list, we will talk about an almost ancient power-up that is rarely seen. And personally, I don't know why, because it is really cool. I'm talking about the Hammer Suit, a power-up that has amazing abilities that barely any other can rival. Now it was first seen in Super Mario Bros. 3, and the idea behind it is actually quite simple. They give you the ability to throw hammers, just like the Hammer Bros. And as we all know, Hammer Bros are one of the most dangerous enemies in Bowser's evil army. But now you can use its power to dominate the levels you run through, and if you duck, you can even block fire attacks. And I bet this power-up would be a great fit for Super Mario Maker 3. You could, for example, use it in a combat-focused level where you have to clear waves of enemies or beat some sort of boss. Or maybe one where you have to use the hammers to hit certain switches, buttons, or other things to continue in the level. So it basically tests your hammer throwing skills. I think stuff like this would be a lot of fun, and I bet if you give people time, they can come up with even more crazy ideas. Number 4. Now, while I love some good combat-focused levels, there's also another thing I absolutely love. Weird power-ups that allow for unique levels to be made. And a power-up that fits well with this idea is the Boo Mushroom. It gives you the ability to float in mid-air and move through specific types of barriers, which is very handy. But there is a downside. In this form, you attract other Boos, which can harm you, and then you revert back to your normal form. And that isn't even all, because if you go into any beams of light, you will also lose the power-up right away. Now it's clear that this one is a bit weird, and not really useful in a lot of cases, so I would add one new power to it. When you turn invisible, you can move through barriers, but also become completely invisible for any enemies. This way you can use it to make all kinds of oddball levels, like a special maze where you have to float through walls, and some of the rooms lead to a dead end, while others are filled with enemies. Or some sort of stealth mission where you need to sneak past enemies, activate something or grab a key, and then go back. Personally, I think concepts like this would be really fun and very different from other things that are already in the game. Number 3. Now for our next power-up, we will look at one that is by far the most powerful on the entire list, but also the most insane, the Mega Mushroom. A classic that turns you into a giant, allowing you to walk over and destroy everything in your path. It was first seen in New Super Mario Bros., where they reinvented the 2D formula, and one thing they added to spice things up was the Mega Mushroom. And while it is an absolutely crazy power-up to say the least, it's a lot of fun to mess around with, and so it would be great to see it in Super Mario Maker 3, even though it would be a bit useless, I think. Personally, I can't come up with any ideas of what to do with this power-up, which I didn't really have with the others on this list. All it's good for is a fun rampage where you destroy everything in your path. But still, sometimes that is very fun to do. Number 2. Now usually, power-ups give you new abilities to take out enemies, and you're also a lot tougher and therefore harder to beat. But there are also a number of them that help with platforming, and out of all of these, there's one that would be an amazing fit for Super Mario Maker 3. I'm talking about the Cloud Flower, a power-up that allows you to make your own platforms wherever you are. And it also improves Mario's jumping abilities as he now falls slower and his jumps are longer. So as you can imagine, it is incredibly useful useful in almost any platforming level, which we saw in Super Mario Galaxy 2, where it's originally from. However, I think it would also be a great addition to Super Mario Maker 3, because it would allow for a lot of freedom and multiple paths in a single level. Just imagine you create a bit of an open level where the one playing it can go in multiple directions, and there are multiple ways to finish the level. And then you give them the Cloud Flower, which allows them to create their own platforms, and using this, they can create their own unique path through the level. Now personally, I think this would be loads of fun, and this is just one idea of what you could do with it. Now another good idea would be a vertical level, where you use the platforms you create with the Cloud Flower to go up and up and up. This way you can get so much more out of a level, and again you can build on top of this concept. For example, you can turn it into that one Mario Party minigame called Leaf Leap. Here you must go higher and jump from leaf to leaf. But in Mario Maker you could create something like this with just the Cloud Flower and some enemies to increase the difficulty a bit. Really, the potential for this one is huge. Number 1. Now for our last one, we will look at a power-up that would be weird to see in a Maker game, but after seeing all the Mario Kart and racing levels, I think it would be a good fit. I'm talking about the Rock Mushroom, which allows you to turn into a boulder, and in this form you can roll around and even make sick jumps. And of course, anything that stands in your way will meet its end rather quickly. So that's a bonus, I would say. Now personally, I think this power-up would be an amazing fit for a Super Mario Maker game. At the moment, loads of people have already made all kinds of racing levels, or ones that are focused on weird mini-games. And I know these are quite popular, and I love them a lot as well. So personally, I think it's a good idea to add the Rock Mushroom, because it would allow for more levels like this to be made. Heck, you could even use it to make a Super Mario version of bowling, using Mario enemies like Goombas. Personally, I think this would be a very fun idea, and I bet other people could come up with even better ideas. Now I think Nintendo could really make a Super Mario Maker 2 sequel even more fun and refreshing by adding a bunch of new power-ups. A good number of them are already seen in the games, but so many of them are still missing, especially power-ups that were seen in 3D games that could easily be translated to a 2D setting, just like they did with the Super Bell from Super Mario 3D World. With that power-up, we instantly saw the potential, and there are still loads of them out there that I didn't even mention. So let's hope that one day they will add more of them to a brand new game, and in the meantime, check out some of my other videos. They're pretty good. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more stuff like this, let me know down below and give me suggestions and whatnot. Subscribe, bell button, comment. So much stuff to do with YouTube. My PC works again. Yes, I recorded this one after my PC kind of like killed itself. I updated the drivers and my Windows just like got corrupted and it was a whole ordeal. I fixed it now though. I know what the problem is. It was a driver program that I used that wasn't doing its job correctly. But now it's running pretty okay. So yippee! Thank you all so much for watching. I love you all. Kiss. Mwah!